All right, we are live and on YouTube. Now ready to go.
Great. It is 9:56 a.m. and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee of Thursday, October 27, 2022. But before we begin, please note this meeting is live streamed on YouTube and recorded. Members of the public are encouraged to watch and listen to the meeting online or by dialing into 415-569-6446 for the audio of this meeting. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting and you have not done so already, please do call 415-569-6446 and let the facilitator know what items you would like to speak on today. Madam Secretary, please begin by calling the roll.
Thank you. We're going to start with Director Cochran.
Here.
Director Conroy is absent. Director Hernandez.
Present.
Thank you. Director Parr.
Present.
Director Rabbit.
Here.
Director Thier.
Here.
Vice Chair Maston.
Here.
Chair Garbarino.
Here.
And President Tirio.
Here.
Thank you. Also on the line, we have Directors Grosbull, Hill, and Rodoni. So we have a quorum and we are still a committee of the whole.
Great, thank you.
I'm going to confirm staff really quick. So there's a
Okay.
lot of movement and people came back. So Dennis Mulligan,
Here.
Joe Wire.
Yes.
Thank you. Ava Bauer-Furbush is there.
Present.
Thank you. Kim Manolius.
Hi again.
Thank you. Madeline Chun.
Good morning.
Dave Rivera.
Good morning, President.
Mona Babauta. I'll see you there. Jim Swindler.
Present.
Thank you. And Kelly Hopper.
Good morning.
Great. Thank you. That confirms everyone on the line.
Thank you again, Amarat. I would like to remind everyone to mute their microphones until after staff's presentation, and remember to unmute when we open up for the director's discussion. If we have directors joining us by phone, please use your mute button or *6 to unmute yourself. I think that makes sense, yep. After staff's presentation, I will be asking for any questions or comments on the item. Click on the raise hand function if you have a question or press *9 if joining by phone. If there are any questions, the secretary or I will call on you accordingly. If we missed your raised hand feature, please speak up. After our discussion, we will ask for any public comment before moving on. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located at the bottom right-hand corner of your meeting packet. We will begin with agenda item number 3, which is to approve actions relative to professional services agreement number 2010B1, Golden Gate Bridge seismic and wind retrofit phase 3B design services with HDR Engineering Incorporated. The staff report begins on page 3, and Ava Bauer-Furbush will present this item. Ava, please begin.
Thank you, Chair Garbarino. The report on the agenda item number 3 presents staff recommendation for increasing the budget of the engineering support service.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I raised my hand. I have a potential conflict of interest, so I'm going to turn off my video. I will not be part of this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Go ahead, Ava.
Thank you. The report on the agenda item number 3 presents staff recommendation for increasing the budget of the engineering support services related to the construction of the wind retrofit. The services are performed by the designer of the wind retrofit, HDR Engineering, which is consistent with established engineering practice. The wind retrofit is constructed as part of the Golden Gate Bridge physical suicide deterrent system and wind retrofit project construction contract. The wind retrofit is installed on the west side of the suspension bridge main span and involves removal of the original white picket railing sections between the original railing posts, erection of new thin picket railing sections, and installation of a quarter circle wind fairing along the outside edge of the west sidewalk. These engineering support services have been authorized by the board to be performed under Amendment number 7 to PSA number 2010-B1 Golden Gate Bridge seismic and wind retrofit phase 3B design services with HDR. The retrofit fabrication and installation was assumed to take place within the first 24 months of the
Ava, I think we're having a hard time following you. We just lost you.
project construction.
I'm assuming everyone else is having the same issue. Ava, we're having a hard time following you.
Yeah.
Ava, you may need to turn off your video. Could be a bandwidth issue. So
Can you
there we go. Hang on. Let's see.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we
hear
can.
you now.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
We lost you about 90 seconds ago.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the wind retrofit fabrication and installation was assumed to take place within the first 24 months of the project construction. However, its actual fabrication and installation did not progress as planned and exceeded the originally planned durations. The work associated with the wind retrofit construction is estimated to be completed by the end of this year. Also, the number of contractors' requests for information, resubmissions of the work plans and shop drawings, other project submissions, and the number of coordination meetings with the that required the HDRs involved exceeded the effort that had anticipated.
Oh, Ava,
Staff
we're having,
had been monitoring the budget of cement to the PSA.
Ava, we're having trouble again. We just lost you. Ava, we've just lost you again. I'm sorry. I'm imagining that we could refer to her
Hello,
report.
can you?
No, you're breaking up. And we just lost you. If there was another way that
That's
you
right.
could call in. you
Hello,
could
I will try.
Yeah, I think that's the best. Ava, you might want to call in.
call back in again. Far be it for me to know what's actually going on.
Yes, I will call.
Okay. We'll pause just a moment then while Ava calls back in.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Chair Garbarino, just so you know, Director Conroy has joined us.
Okay,
I wasn't sure if you saw that.
welcome. Perhaps while we're waiting for Ava to join us again, I can acknowledge the October 6th. And can you see this picture? The wonderful safety rodeo-ish, if you will, across the street from our place that the bus division put on. And I know Holly was there and Sabrina was there as well, but it was just heartwarming to see the pride in everyone's faces for the job that they do and job well done. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I can forward the picture so you don't have to look at it this way if you'd like.
I would add
Hello?
thanks to Mona and her team for pulling off a
Yes.
wonderful rodeo. And for those that weren't there, there's quite impressive displays of bus driving that you missed out on.
Mhm. It's so cool. It's so cool. With margins of an inch or two, they get them through the cones. It's amazing.
Ava, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
There
Oh,
you go.
great. Okay, here we are. Continue
All
on.
right,
Erica.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. All right. So we were talking about the scope of work that exceeded the original anticipated effort by HDR, and staff had been monitoring the budget of the 7th Amendment to the PSA with HDR to determine whether and when budget increases were necessary to account for the increased costs of the engineering support services. Based on the latest review of the budget and the required extension of HDR's engineering support services through the anticipated wind retrofit completion at the end of 2022, staff has determined that the extension of the services requires an increase in the authorized 7th Amendment budget. HDR has provided a cost proposal for the extension of services associated with the wind retrofit work in the amount of $40,000. Engineering staff has reviewed the proposal and found it to be reasonable in terms of the consultant's budgeted labor hours to perform the additional scope of work requested by the district, and consistent with HDR's audited labor and overhead billing rates. So with this, staff recommends that the Building and Operating Committee recommend that the Board of Directors authorize the execution of the 4th addendum to the 7th Amendment to PSI with HDR Engineering in the not to exceed amount of $40,000 to perform the additional services as presented in this report. HDR Engineering will be compensated for actual time expended and expenses incurred. Staff also recommends that a contingency for this 4th addendum in the amount of $6,000 be established for any additional scope of services that may develop while work progresses. It is proposed that the $40,000 cost of the 4th addendum and its $6,000 contingency for the total amount of $46,000 be financed with savings in the construction engineering budget for the wind retrofit construction project as listed in the staff report. So with this, I'll be happy to answer any question that the committee may have for me.
Ava, thank you for your presentation and your patience with technology as well. Are there any questions or comments from directors at this time? I don't see any. Do you, Amarat?
I do not.
Okay, then that concludes a discussion on this item number 3. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers on this item.
Thank you, Amaret, again. Colleagues, may I have a motion on agenda item number 3 to approve actions relative to the Golden Gate Bridge seismic and wind retrofit phase 3B design services?
So moved, Barr. Oh,
Lots of movement there.
We've got movement.
And is there some of them a second, I'm sure?
I'll second.
Great. Madam Secretary, please do a roll call vote.
Thank you. We're voting on item number 3 with the first and second, starting with Director Arnold, who is not on the line anymore. So absent. Director Conroy. There you go. Director Conroy.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Garbarino.
Aye.
Director Giudice. Absent. Director Grosboll.
Aye.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Parr.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder. is absent. Director Stephanie is absent. Director Thier was removed herself and recused herself from this vote. Second Vice President Hill,
Yes.
First Vice President Cochran,
Yes.
and President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 11 ayes and you have 1 recusal.
Thank you. That motion passes. We will now move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is an informal monthly report from board appointees on the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit Board. I'll start off the report by stating that we have these wonderful, absolutely wonderful reports that are done by Matt Stevens that could be easily forwarded to you all. They're far better than any notes that I could take, but not as good as reports that David and Barbara could do. So I will just mention a few highlights. And I think the biggest one perhaps is ridership, with the average daily ridership up 78% for October and September. And that's 78% of 2019 numbers. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are their busiest days, and with 75% of August 8, 2019 numbers as well. Then new schedules also increased 2 more rides, 2 more trips midweek and 3 on the weekend. Bike capacity is being looked at because that's growing in a very healthy way as well. They'll be removing some seats and putting in additional bike capacity. Then we have one more comment. And let's see, that is on this wonderful program for free ridership for students, youth, grades K-12. It will be during non-peak hours and smart staff will be meeting them. How much fun would that be, right? On the, when they finish their trip. And then there is a potential for a tax credit. Sounds unusual for a nonprofit, but track maintenance for qualified organizations on short line and regional. And what this means is that equivalent, and correct me if I'm wrong, David and Barbara, but the equivalent of about $45,000, I think. SMART can actually sell those tax credits. So that's where the financial benefit comes in. And then finally, I have the opening, probably the other biggest highlight was the opening of the SMART station at Payran in Petaluma and South Point Boulevard. And I know Barbara and David probably want to speak to that because they were able to attend and also correct anything I forgot or left out or did wrong. Barbara, David?
David, you go first.
No, I think that's pretty great summary. I will also make note that last week we did a budget amendment of $14.1 million to construct what they call Petaluma North Station. I always think of it as the east side of Petaluma, but it's officially Petaluma North. There was a TIRCP fund, the Transit Intercity Rail Capital Project Fund of $10 million, $2 million from the city, and the remaining 2.1 split between SCTA and MTC and SMART, excuse me. So really excited about that, obviously, for all the reasons that are obvious. The dedication of the trail was really kind of a rededication because it was open briefly, closed when the freeway work was underway because the false work, there was no way to keep it open and be safe. But really an important 1.2 mile stretch of trail linking east to west Petaluma, and very excited, good turnout, great words spoken by our colleagues, and that totals now about 25 miles of multi-use path that are up and operating, and we have 14 miles fully funded and soon to be under construction. So that's an impressive 39 miles total. I think that's pretty damn impressive and really great progress being made. And that's it for me. Thank you. I'll turn it over to our vice chair.
Actually, all I have to add is that David was the reopening of a segment that had been closed because Caltrans was doing some work at Payron. My part was the Christmas future. We announced that we were opening a small little segment, $1.5 million. I think it's about 500 feet. The pathways are very expensive, but people were excited about it. SMART did a great job of blowing its horn and getting people excited. Lots of bike people there. They loved the pathway. And we acknowledged all of the organizations that had been part of it. It isn't just a SMART happening. SCTA was part of it. MTC, of course, put a lot of money into it. But SMART did a wonderful job. There were probably, maybe 120 people there. David was eloquent, as he always is. So thank you for the opportunity to toot our horn, blow our whistles. That's the other thing, there are all kinds of rules with the train about when you can blow your whistle and when you can't. And that particular intersection is a non-whistle intersection. And so the train went by twice, once coming and once going during the ceremony. And they had been given permission to blow their whistles. So that was kind of exciting for a train person.
There you go. And you both exhibited eloquence. So thank you for that report. And I might just add, because this is timely and I forgot earlier, SMART is also putting in counters for bicycle and pedestrian segments of the multi-use pathway. So this is a wonderful thing to be able to track the increased usage of the bike and pedestrian pathway. And with that, that concludes our discussion on item number 4. I'm just wondering if my colleagues have any questions or comments. Amaret, I'm seeing none. So I'm just wondering if there are any members of the public that would like to comment.
We have no speakers on this item.
Okay, so no action is required for item number 4. So we will move on to item number 5. The status report on engineering projects begins on page 15, and Ava will present her report. Ava, please proceed.
Chair Garbarino, members of the committee, my written report is before you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the committee may have for me.
Thank you for that. Colleagues, are there any questions for Ava on her engineering report? Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do note a theme in the suicide deterrent system part of the report, in which something close to this refrain keeps appearing, which is the work is on hold due to contractor lack of personnel. I can't imagine that the hiring hall is anything close to empty right now. And I know that when I was doing dispatch, I would commonly get calls from general contractors or from developers saying, how does the hiring hall look? Do we know how the hiring hall looks? Is it in fact the hiring hall situation that results in the lack of personnel? Oh, there's a shake of the heads. Okay, so we know that's not it. Thank you. That's kind of what I wanted to know.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? No? Ava, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this report?
We have no speakers from the public on this item.
Okay. There is no action associated with item number 5, therefore. And now we will continue on with item number 6. Am I losing my numbers?
No, you're fine. And item 6 is public comment. We have no speakers for today's meeting.
Okay, thank you. We have reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee. Thank you, colleagues. The time is 10:21.
Ava, thank you for the pictures of the dredging.
Thank you.